Hello, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. This year, I wanted to talk a little bit about tradition, because Thanksgiving is as much about tradition as it is stuffing your face with turkey, which in and itself is tradition, right? But on this channel, I only have two traditions. March, I do Irish Whiskey Month. You guys should watch more of that. Irish whiskey's awesome. And second, I do Wild Turkey every Thanksgiving.
Let's talk about this particular whiskey.
Tonight, in my unending quest to bring you inexpensive whiskeys that don't suck, I wanted to talk to you about Wild Turkey Kentucky Straight Bourbon.
This year is no different. I'm going to be covering the Long Branch Kentucky Straight Bourbon from Wild Turkey. Turkey Hunt. This is Wild Turkey Rare Breed. So I wanted to do something slightly different this year. Still Wild Turkey, but I've covered all of their bourbons, and I've done none of their ryes. So I didn't want to just do the regular Wild Turkey rye. I didn't want to do the Wild Turkey 101, mostly because I couldn't find it near me. But also, this incorporates basically what those two are. It's the same mash bill, same everything. But let's talk a little bit about that. So this was first released in May of 2020. It's a Kentucky Straight Rye whiskey that's a blend of multiple ages of Wild Turkey rye whiskey, including 4, 6, and 8 years. None of that's on the label, it's just kind of assumed. It's bottled at barrel strength at 56.1% ABV. Its mash bill is barely legal at 51% rye, 37% corn, and 12% malted barley. It's not chill filtered, and it does have natural coloring, and it can commonly be found between $55 and $60. Now, it might surprise you to find out that Wild Turkey has actually been making rye since 1974, which makes them one of the longest running active distilleries to make rye in the US. And although they've been doing this forever, they just didn't see the boom that was the whiskey boom coming, or at least not when it pertains to rye, especially as of a few years ago when the popularity of rye really rose. So when they started running out of stock, I get the feeling that this was kind of their answer. So let's think of it this way, right? So you've got the regular rye and the rye 101, both, a few years old, but then you've got something that needs to be special. You're running out of your supplies, you're running out of your older stuff. So let's mix a few things. Let's keep some of that 8-year-old to really give it some flavor. Let's keep some of the 6 to balance it out, and let's dump as much of the 4-year-old in there as we possibly can. And then let's slap a nice rare breed label on it and really push it and make it seem like it's something special. Now, thankfully, it does taste good, but I can't help but think that this is just their answer to running out of stock, but wanting to do a premium product. And that's fine. It's marketing. As long as you guys can kind of see through that, hopefully with, this information, but more so like just thinking about it. Whenever anybody does something that sounds really fancy, you should question it because it's probably just marketing. Anyway, let's figure out, because marketing doesn't matter, let's figure out what's in the bottle, right? Let's go and do some nosing and tasting. Now the nose here does not smell like a rye. It is apple, it's cinnamon, it's very heavy on citrus. Lemon comes across pretty solidly. There's like a hint of orange there, but it's mostly lemon for me. It's buttery, actually, like almost creamy. Smells very sweet, very sweet. If I didn't know that this was a 51% rye, I would peg this as closer to 30. With more high corn. Now that's fine. I think it's, what did I say, 37% corn in the mash bill, and 51% rye. So it's still pretty decent size amount of corn, so that's where you're getting a lot of the sweetness. But it's interesting when you smell this, how not like a rye it smells. But regardless, it does smell like a Wild Turkey. I would probably peg this as something, I might peg this as a Wild Turkey if I smelled it in a lineup. So certainly wouldn't peg it as a rye if it was next to other ryes. All right, let's go ahead and have a sip. Cheers and happy Thanksgiving. Whew. That's rye. It's not, what did I say it was, 112? Yeah, 112.2 proof, so 56.1%. It's not the alcohol that's the kick. It is the rye. At least right at the beginning, mid palate's actually a little bit more flat, and then in the finish you're getting the rye again. But it's not as, I would expect an 112 to taste a little bit more alcohol. Some of the notes I'm getting here are grass, which is interesting. You are getting obviously some of the rye spice here, but it's trying to compare it to something that might make a little bit more sense. So if you were to drink, say, like a 95% rye, you are tasting rye spice, and that's like a undeniable taste. Like you taste that, you're like, this is a rye. In this one, for me, it's almost like black peppery to the point of rye, if that helps at all. It's not directly rye right in your face. I'm trying to figure this out while I'm talking to you. So, second sip, we're getting a little past that initial boom, and I'm able to pick out some more nuanced flavors. For example, there's some black licorice in here. It's not heavy. People call it anise, but it's like a black licorice flavor. There's more citrus in here. Very much so. It's almost mouth-wateringly citrusy, like a lemon might do if you were to bite into a lemon. No dill pickle. No mint. Well, maybe a little bit. I think less mint and more like a menthol-y kind of I'm gonna say more like menthol. It's got that exhale afterwards where it's like a menthol. All right, let's talk overall. So overall, I really like this one, and it kind of got me wondering, like, what do I want out of a rye? I'm gonna get all kinds of crazy here. So I drink this, and my initial reaction is, I like this. This tastes pretty good. But I'm also thinking, like, at 51% rye, it tastes just like a high rye, not even a high rye bourbon. It's just a bourbon with influence of rye is what I'm tasting. So it kind of got me thinking, like, if you only do 51% rye, what is the purpose of that? Is that similar to only doing a 40% whiskey because you're just getting away with it, you're putting out your whiskey? Is a 51% rye just checking the box? Hey guys, we make rye, but we didn't want to spend as much money as we possibly can because rye is an expensive grain and it's messy. Like, it's a problem when you're distilling it. It's something that I thought about quite a bit this week. And then I started coming to the price. And I feel like the price is a big problem here. So thinking about this being $55 to $60 and some of the other ryes that I could get within that price range or even less, Pikesville, even New Riff is in that range. There's other ryes that are just as good, but more so are ryes, like they are undeniably a rye. This is deniably a rye. And I think that's interesting. So who is this for? Because I'm obviously kind of churning through this. I have my answer. I know what I'm going to rate this already, but I'm explaining myself, right? This is for somebody who is new to rye, who already might like the Wild Turkey brand and wants to move into it. And I think that's an ideal person to drink this whiskey. The price point doesn't bother me so much, especially knowing that there is 8-year-old whiskey in here. I think the price point is okay. But this isn't what I would point to if I were to say, hey, you really want to try a rye? Go get the Wild Turkey Rare Breed rye. But I would say, hey, do you want to have a really killer Manhattan? Maybe go buy this whiskey. It's going to be an expensive Manhattan, but it's going to be really tasty. And I proved that to myself earlier tonight. So I was curious because when I tasted this, another note that I'm not going to go back and fix anything, but like there's some cherry notes. Like this begs to be in a Manhattan when you drink it. It just kind of tastes like a Manhattan. So of course I had to make one, and of course it was delicious, and it felt very high end, and I think that was interesting. I tend to make my Manhattans with either bourbon or rye, and I think this is kind of a good compromise between the two. So, yeah, I think I'm going to give this my rating of buy it. It's a lukewarm buy it. Like, you should absolutely get your hands and try this at some point. But because of the price point, that's my only complaint. I would love to see it at $50. If it was at $50, there'd be no qualm whatsoever. If you are new to rye, this is a good one to pick up. If you love like 95, 100% ryes, this isn't going to do it for you. You might enjoy it anyway, because I mean, bourbon's good and rye's good, and a rye that doesn't kick you in the teeth is totally fine, if not good. And that's what this is. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about buying this. Is that what you want? But regardless, this still gets my rating of buy it. I think Wild Turkey put a quality product here. Jimmy Russell did what he intended on doing, right? Like, I have all the faith in the world in him. I think that this is a very approachable rye for anybody new, and I think that this is something that you could consider buying. Is it something to rush out to the store and get? No. But if you're looking for it, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. Let's go ahead and see what you guys thought. Out of 348 votes, 19% of you said to stock it, 14% said to buy it, and 14% said to try it. 8% said to ignore it, and 45% have never had it. So you guys pretty much agree with me. Like, this is a good dram, and this is something that's probably worth having. It's actually nice. I think that might be the highest percent of stock it that I've ever had when doing one of these polls. But I did have a couple of quick comments. So Eric McDaniel says, legit underrated rye, not too harsh with spice or floral, very well balanced. Mark says, I've tried it and I would buy it if I didn't have too many bottles right now. It's delicious. I guess I'll settle for rare breed bourbon that is already open this Thanksgiving. Now, Mark, I say to you, go get it anyway. Don't worry about what you have open. Just go buy more whiskey. All right. Marshall says, I've had Wild Turkey 101, but not the rye, but I think it'd be a stock it. And I think that's a super interesting comment because he's never even had it, but just Wild Turkey has such a great reputation, and I completely agree with their reputation. I think it's well earned that he's just like, nah, I'll buy it. Sounds good. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope I'm actually, this is going to sound corny. I'm thankful for every one of you guys that watch every video, that come by, that enjoy this silliness. And I really am looking forward to another year of doing this whole thing. I know I have another month left in the year, but you know what? I don't say it enough, guys. I really appreciate you all watching the videos. So have a great rest of your night and cheers. Happy Thanksgiving.